Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here. First of all, just want to start by saying happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Hopefully you're able to enjoy it with a lot of family and friends, so hope everybody has a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Obviously not the outcome that we wanted on Saturday. We went in 1 week's time from playing as good as we're capable of playing right now to as bad as we're capable of playing right now. So within a week's time. So we're starting to see the whole spectrum of where this team is. But like I told you, we need to execute better, and we need to become more consistent. When we're not consistent and we don't execute, that's what happens. When you turn 4 of the 5 turnovers and you turn them over inside your own zone, you basically just hand somebody a touchdown, especially a good team like that. They didn't even have to really work for it, though. We kind of made it very easy for them. You got to give Pat and Northwestern Wildcats a lot of credit. He's done a tremendous job with his program. They're very opportunistic. Very good football team, and you can tell why they've won, whatever, it's been 6 straight now, and probably the hottest team in the Big Ten. So, but it's a compliment to him and his coaching staff and their football team. So wish them all the best as they continue to go forward this week. I don't think I have to tell anybody what week it is. We're excited for the challenge. It's a very unique challenge that we have, not just with the rivalry, but a team that's 11-0, ranked in the top 5, and probably today that'll change and maybe even go up. If not, they'll be at 5, and then I know that Miami and Clemson still have to play each other, and some other things that will happen. This is a team that has an opportunity to possibly be in the playoff and win a national championship here in the next few weeks. So it's a wonderful challenge for our players. They understand the challenge. We talked today in our team meeting about it, but there's not much explaining when you have Wisconsin and Minnesota play. You don't really have to talk too much to get that, but there's a lot of other things that are on the line in terms of us and bowl eligibility still, but beating a team that's undefeated, and then also the battle for the axe. So I don't think I have to inform everybody on that, and then have the ability to, stop somebody's run to make it to the playoffs. So there's a lot to play for, and we want to make sure our seniors have the right opportunity to have an opportunity to win and go out on a very high note and be able to celebrate what they've accomplished throughout their time here. So we'll do everything we can for that, but it's an enormous challenge. I will say that. It's an enormous challenge. Always is, but, they're a very good football team, very consistent culture, and they do what they do very, very well. And it seems like doesn't matter really who's there. They just kind of plug it into their culture, and here comes another reload, not necessarily a rebuild. And they do that year after year after year, but that's what Barry built almost 30 years ago, and you're starting to still see the benefits of that, and he's still there. So. But they do a tremendous job. Got to give them a lot of credit. I know our players are looking forward to it. So with that, we'll open up for questions.
You faced them last year, obviously. This is the one Big Ten team you've seen before. What were your impressions of Wisconsin?
Well, they were very talented last year, just like they are this year. The quarterback's back again, and they've got, they got one of the best running backs in the country, and he's only a freshman. Their offensive line is just, they're big, they're strong, they move people at will. And that's what happened to us when I was at Western Michigan. I mean, there were gaping holes, and not because we weren't playing hard. We were just getting moved out of those holes very easily. And they've done that to everybody in our league. They did that at the end of the game. They wore down Michigan at the end of the game in terms of when you watch that film, they continue to stay what they do, and that's what they do. It's not just Michigan, but it's everybody else. You watch them play Iowa, you watch them play whoever. I mean, they wear you down. And that's what they did when I was at Western Michigan. They're very consistent. They don't make mistakes. They're +4 in the turnover battle for the year, or +3 for the turnover battle on the year. And they don't beat themselves. They never have, and they didn't beat themselves last year. They don't beat themselves this year. You got to give Coach Chris and his staff a lot of credit. They're a very, very, very good football team that's very well coached, that has had a system like that over there for a very long time that they're very good at.
Job, and was the drought also something that came along with it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew about the rivalry just being a fan of college football. I mean, it's the oldest standing rivalry of college football. I mean, that's one of the reasons why you go coach in the Big Ten. That's one of the reasons why you go coach at Minnesota. I'm sure that's why you take a job like Wisconsin as well, to play in games like this. In terms of not winning for 13, 14 years, I was not aware of that when you kind of take the job. But that's what I love, and that's when you start to investigate that, you start to look at that, you start to hear about that. That's something that's the challenge that I've always wanted my entire life. And we're not looking at the last 13 years. we're not talking about the last 13 years. It's very evident. I mean, the way media and the way knowledge can be spread so quickly and instant into your mind through the smartphone and social media, it's hard to ignore. I mean, you've got to be able to embrace it and teach your players how to be able to handle that, and how to be able to voice that, and how to be able to internalize that. But we're not worried about that. We haven't talked much about it. We did a little bit in terms of how to be able to internalize it, but other than that, it's this year. Last year has nothing to do with this year. They're a very, very good football team, though, I will say that.
You look like you made some changes to your depth chart at wide receiver. How are you going to get anything out of that area when you have so much youth and just guys that really haven't even played that position very much?
We got to coach them better. We got to keep coaching them. They're very young guys, very inexperienced, but that's what we have right now. And if you do the right things, you're going to be a part of this program. If you don't do the right things, you're not going to be a part of the program. And so, nope. But it's one of those things that goes for every area. That goes for working on getting your game better. That's not just the amount of 20 hours that you're allowed. That's not just during practice. That's getting yourself better so that when you do get in game situations, whether you're experienced or not experienced, whether you're young, whether you're old, you get in there and you execute. And that's what we have to be able to get to.
Yeah, the drops the last 3 weeks, is that a focus thing? Is it?
Well, there's a lot of guys that are dropping the ball that haven't had a lot of balls thrown their way. The only one that had dropped more than he probably usually has was Ty Johnson. Other than that, there's a lot of guys. Philip started out, he dropped some at the beginning of the year, then he started catching him in the middle of the year. Then he sat out a few games, and boom, he came right back in and dropped a few more. So, again, and that's the first time he's ever played, this year. So it's all part of those growing pains. It's not fun to go through. I mean, it's not fun. I mean, I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy watching them drop the ball. But the worst coaching advice I can give them is, hey, catch the ball. That's a statement. That's obvious. It's getting them to learn how to catch it better, right? They don't want to drop it. They don't want to put the ball on the ground. They understand the ball's a program. But they also have to get themselves better to a level where they can master catching, right? And, that's one thing we got to get better at. And, we have way too many drops right now. But I've been through that before, especially with inexperienced young wide receivers. That is not an easy thing to do. We've also caught our majority of really good balls, too.
Route running, speed, or great hands, which is the most important part of being a great receiver?
All of them. Sorry to take it out. I think if you can catch the football, that's what makes you a receiver. I didn't run very well. I couldn't separate. I was a really good route runner, but I always had people near me. I always had to catch the ball in a crowd. But I could always make it right because I could catch. So catching the ball to me is everything. And then you kind of look at, to be able to catch the football, you got to be open. So you've got to be able to separate. Great route runner. Speed is really good, but if you're out of control when you have speed, you have a lot of guys that maybe can run a little bit, but they're out of control and they haven't necessarily mastered their craft in 8 months of learning how to be able to run routes the way that we teach it. And so, again, I think to answer your question, I said all of them, but that's the way I kind of prioritize it. To play wild, you got to catch. But you have to be able to be a good route runner and you have to be able to run to be able to finish plays. But at this point, we'll just take the possession. We just want the ball. Just so we can be able to move the chains. But we're at that point where we got to put 12, 13 play drives together, and there's got to be perfect play calls at times to put these guys in the right position where they can be successful. And that's the challenge that you have. We were able to do that at the Nebraska game. We were able to do that. You saw, I thought Kirk called an elite game, gave our players the best chance of their skill set to be successful. And then you lose some of those guys. And then you have new guys playing again. So it's constantly, you're not reloading, you're rebuilding at each position over and over every time you lose somebody, just like our offensive line. You've got Quinn Oslin and you've got Dovich in there playing now, and they haven't played much at all, ever. And now they're expected to go in there and do it.
Are those guys going to replace Garrison and Connor?
Well, we'll see. We're doing everything we can with Connor to get healthy, and Garrett. But we'll see, or Garrison, and but we'll see what happens. If not, then yes, those are the guys that will be playing.
EJ, a couple of questions. You 16 seniors, which ones do you think might have the best chance to play at the next level. And the other question is, Wisconsin has had so much success in their identifying kids from small towns in Wisconsin. A lot of them coming, being walk-ons, going on to do great things. What are you doing? What can you do as a coaching staff here to try to maximize that in the state of Minnesota?
Yeah, well, we've only been here 10 months, right? So all the things that, like I've said, I'm going to give compliments to University of Wisconsin because, and I'm not going to not talk about them because they're our rival. They're the standard of what the West Division should be, right? And when you look at them, they've kept a lot of people in state. They've got a lot of alum that support everything that they do. If you're born in Wisconsin, most people want to stay in Wisconsin and go to school and play for the Badgers. That's an all-time dream of theirs, whether that is a scholarship or whether that's a walk-on opportunity. And so for us, we have a very dynamic walk-on program that we had at Western Michigan, which a ton of walk-ons helped us have a ton of success. We're implementing that here at the University of Minnesota. We haven't even had our first class truly signed, like our true full first class even signed. But we're doing everything we can to keep the best talent in the state of Minnesota. That's not just scholarship. That's also preferred walk-ons that are actually at school here with close to 56,000 students. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that we turn over every stone to find those players. And but again, that takes a long time to get there. Like I said, everything that they're doing, it started almost 30 years ago. I'm only 36, right? So that's a long time of developing all those things, of what they've become really good at. It just doesn't happen overnight. Traditions don't just happen overnight. Elite cultures just don't happen overnight. Winning championships don't happen overnight. Getting everybody to want to come to your school and making it a top 10 program in America doesn't happen overnight. But those are the things that we aspire to be, and those are the things we're working on every single day. But again, there's a lot of elite Division II programs in the state of Minnesota. There's a lot of FCS programs around the state of Minnesota that have a ton of success, that are very, very good academic institutions, as well as traditional powerhouses on the national champion type level. We have to make sure that those people don't go there. They want to come here to the only Division I football program in the state of Minnesota and become a Gopher, which we have to get those dreams happening all over the place.
Is there an issue in identifying some of those, real small nuggets in the haystack?
I'm not sure what are you seeing something?
Well, I'm talking about, kids that, who knows where they may be, but they may be in very small villages, at very small schools, very small programs.
Oh, no, because we recruit the entire state of Minnesota. And so we look at everything and everybody and every email, every suggestion, all the people. We have our own recruiting process we go through. We found a lot of players. We really have. And I can't talk publicly about them. And I think you'll start hearing that in the next 3, 4, 5 weeks of guys joining our program. There's been a lot of them with our preferred walk-on program, a lot of guys that have committed as preferred walk-ons. That's already been public. So we're doing that. We're doing exactly that, and we will not stop doing that.
And what about seniors that might play at the next level?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys that have an opportunity. In terms of how many guys will get drafted, we'll find that out. I think we had one draft pick last year on our team at the University of Minnesota. This year, I'm not sure how many we'll have drafted. That's for the NFL to look at. But I think we have some guys capable of playing at the next level, depending on how much better they get, what needs are of other teams. But, guys who look like John Celestine and Ryan Santoso and Stephen Richardson. And you look at a lot of guys that have an opportunity, I think that they'll make the most of it. But there's a lot of guys that, the scouts come around and look at. Is there that one guy that's an overall first-round draft pick? We don't have that. We don't have that on our football team. We've got to be able to create a system where we bring those players in and develop them, and we will. But that'll take a little while, too, to be able to do that. But, again, I'm really proud of those seniors of what they've brought to this program, the foundation they've laid. It's not easy doing what they've done. Whenever this does take off, those are the guys that are going to be coming back. Those are the guys that are be coming back here to celebrate with us. And that's what our whole plan is with them. And I'm very proud of the accomplishments they've had in their career and what they've done to set the future of this program.
Coach, Wisconsin has a stout defense. What are some areas that you can attack in order to put some points on the board this weekend?
Well, we're going to have to attack all of them. We're going to have to be as balanced as we possibly can be. Their front four is elite. Their linebackers are very, very talented. It seems like they've been there forever, especially T.J. Edwards. Just wondering when he'll graduate. I have a relationship with him and know him very well. And then, the secondary is very opportunistic. So they play what they play very well. They play for Coach Leonard, and they do a tremendous job for him. They're very familiar with their personnel. They know what they can do and what they can't do. They know what their strengths are and their weaknesses. And they've got a ton of depth. I mean, a ton of depth. And they're very, very talented. So we're going to have to be very balanced.
Coach, going into this last game of the regular season, how has it been different this year at Minnesota compared to at Western Michigan? Does it think it's been easier to get this culture set up now that you've had success at Western Michigan?
It's very similar. Year ones are very similar. The wins, I told you, that's not what I was concerned about. We have 4 more wins than my first year at Western Michigan, but I'm not concerned about that. What I'm concerned about is where is the culture, how is it being laid, how is it being received, what are the issues within the program, what do we have to clean up, what do we have to make better, what do we have to keep, what do we have to change, what do we have to do continue to move forward to make ourselves a championship-type culture. You're hired to make a lot of very, very difficult decisions, and that's why you take a program over like this. You make a lot of very difficult decisions that maybe aren't popular decisions, but you make them because they have to be made. Somebody has to make those decisions. And but it's very similar because I've been through it before. And that's one thing that you kind of go back to and you relate to and you analyze and you look back on what you did with the same type of issues 4 years ago and what the outcome of those decisions were. So you have a Rolodex to recall from and pull from, which makes it a lot I wouldn't say it makes it easier because nothing's ever easy when you do something like this, but it also gives you the ability to reflect back to at least have some personal experience to go back to.
Coach, what has the senior class done to really help you implement that culture?
Well, they stayed when they didn't have to stay, first and foremost. Remember, I told them a long time ago, they didn't pick me, but I picked them. That's the hardest part about cultural changes is that they didn't have a choice. And they've got 8 months left when you take over, 9 months left, and that's it. And so for them to be able to say, okay, I'm going to accept this, I'm going to adapt to this, a guy like Kunle, of all the things he's been through in his personal life, everything he's been through in his football life, all the amount of change he's seen here from walk-on to scholarship to whatever it's been, to playing safety to playing corner. I mean, there's probably somebody who hasn't – if one guy's seen more change on our entire football team, I'd like to see him because the guy that's seen the most is probably Kunle. And to see a guy like him stay and maybe think I'm going to be a backup and be like the starter the entire year at multiple positions, that's what they've done. And they've never complained about it. They've embraced it. They've made a decision to stay. We're going to embrace this. We are going to change our best. We're going to row the boat. We are going to be the foundation of this program for years to come. And that means a lot to me. They're very, very special people. It means a lot to our alums and the University of Minnesota and all of our football programs. So, but he'd be a great example, and you might be able to ask him a little bit too of that.
Take 1 or 2 more for
Hey,
Coach.
regardless of the outcome, how much Saturday do you just want to see this team play with passion, catch the ball, be in the right gaps, tackle, those types of things?
Well, yeah, this isn't like, oh my gosh, we've done this for 9 straight games. We've lost 4 really, really, really tight, close down to the wire games. We beat Nebraska by over 30 points a week ago, right? And then we have something that I can't even talk about everything of how we lost because we didn't even get to a point where you could analyze that because the ball was not the program. We didn't have a chance to sit there and say, well, what were the issues? We weren't in this gap or we weren't in that gap. Okay, what call were – because we didn't have a chance to even do that. The ball was in their hands all the time. So for me, I want to just see their response. I've never questioned their work ethic, their energy, their passion. We've had our challenges. We've had our challenges with depth. We had our challenges with experience. We've had our challenges with consistency, with being a brand new culture and a brand new offense, defense, special teams. And I think they've handled that and attacked that the way that I expect them to handle it and attack it. I'm very proud of them for that. So I expect them to change their best. Very simple. They don't have to do all these unique and different things because they've done all those things a week ago, right? And then there was 5 adverse situations that we put ourselves in that didn't even give us a chance. So it was even hard to even analyze the tape. I'll be honest, it was very hard to analyze the tape because you never got into a groove. You never got into a rhythm. There was constant turnover, and then the game was out of hand. The minute it got to 19-0, it was out of hand. In those conditions, 3 turnovers, 3 touchdowns, out of hand. And now the whole game plan changes. And now you have to do things in that inclement weather that you didn't want to do going into the game plan. And then you're doing it with people who haven't done it before. So, again, that to answer your question, it's more of just doing what we do and doing it better.
You said you want to see the response. You have a pretty good idea how your team will respond?
Absolutely. I mean, the way I want them to respond, and not just because of the outcome. Michigan was one thing. Nebraska was another thing. Right now, the talent level was a little bit different. Okay? But, again, that's what we're facing right now. And those are realistic obstacles. And we've got to take those head on. I'm not going to make an excuse. I'm not going to walk around it. We're going right through it. And that's why I'm here.
Coach, when it comes to the turkey drive, I know that you mentioned that it was a player-led decision or idea last week. Can you shed some light on kind of how that kind of comes about and how quickly you have to turn that around in a week's time?
Yeah, we talked as a leadership council just about serving and giving, and we brought up I brought up to them about a turkey drive, and they said, that'd be great. Let's organize it. Let's do all these things. I said, okay, that's great. 5 days, guys, 5 days. You want to organize something like this in 5 days. But they did. And I tell you what, everybody on our football team donated. They didn't have to. They all did. They donated $5 on their own. And then from there were multiple guys. 30 guys plus gave more than $5. They didn't have to. They just did that. And then whatever was left, we matched and paid the difference. But that's I want to continue to make sure this team understands the importance of serving and giving, that your life is not about you. It's about what you can do for other people and what you can do to serve and give and make other people's lives better. And whether that's through making a play in the end zone because now you've done something you haven't done in 50-some years and you're making those people cry that saw the last championship here, that's serving and giving to them too, right? To make those types of plays. But doing a turkey drive where you're going to help over 200 families tonight that aren't as fortunate as us. Our worst days are a lot of people's best days. That's what I mean by that. But to continue to teach philanthropy within our culture, I will continue to do that. No matter what our record is, that is not going to be the focus. We'll continue to stay the course. We'll continue to row the boat. We'll continue to change our best. And we'll continue to teach these 17 to 22-year-old young men how to serve and give. And not just do it, why you're doing it. And not only why you're doing it better every single day. And I think that's been the biggest change. And that's been the hardest change for everybody, the type of rules we have upon that. Anybody can just walk down the street with their headphones on. Well, when you talk about +3 and you talk about social and talking about, multiplying our culture by 3 or connecting with 3 people you've never met, you can't do that when you have headphones on. So it's constantly about learning how to give. And every time you thought you gave something, you can always give more. And that's what we want to do, get our players out of their comfort zone of giving and serving. And Thanksgiving's a wonderful time to remember that. Every day should be like that for all of us, but Thanksgiving's a big time for that. And, I'm just proud of our players for the philanthropy they're doing. And I know the results, not everybody, what everybody wants, but there's a lot of statistics, and if you look them up, that we should be pretty proud of what we just accomplished. And, but again, the program's taking the steps in the right direction, and part of that is what you see tonight with the turkey drive. So I'm proud of our guys.
Thank you, guys.
Row the boats, game on. Go Gophers. Thank you.
Thanks,
Cool,
BJ.
Are
You're
you
welcome.
up here tomorrow?